The following text is adapted from Zora Neale Hurston's 1921 short story, John Redding Goes to Sea. John is a child who lives in a town in the woods. Perhaps 10-year-old John was puzzling to the folk there in the Florida woods, for he was an imaginative child and fond of daydreams. The St. John River flowed a scarce 300 feet from his back door. On its banks, at this point, grow numerous palms, luxuriant magnolias, and bay trees. On the bosom of the stream float millions of delicately colored hyacinths. John Redding loved to wander down to the water's edge and, casting in dried twigs, watch them sail away downstream to Jacksonville, the sea, the wide world, and he wanted to follow them. Which choice best describes the function of the underlined sentence in the text as a whole? A. It provides an extended description of a location that John likes to visit. B. It reveals that some residents of John's town are confused by his behavior. C. It illustrates the uniqueness of John's imagination compared to the imaginations of other children. Or D. It suggests that John longs to experience a larger life outside the Florida woods.
Question number 8, we are talking about text adapted from Zora Neale Hurston's 1921 short story, which is John Redding Goes to Sea. So this is the title of the story. John is a child who lives in a town in the woods, and then they are describing a few sentences over here. And we have to describe the function of the underlined sentence in the text as a whole. So the first sentence is starting off saying that perhaps 10-year-old John was puzzling to the folk there in Florida woods, for he was an imaginative child and fond of daydreams. So it's just describing John's nature. Then it describes the St. John River flowed a scarce 300 feet from his back door. So first sentence is describing John's nature, that he's an imaginative child. Second is describing the St. John's River, which is flowing just 300 feet from his back door. After that, it's talking about on its banks at this point grow numerous palms, luxuriant magnolias, and bay trees. Then it is describing what it looks like in his backyard and a little bit away from his house. And then comes on the bosom of the stream float millions of delicately colored hyacinths. And then the underlined sentence is talking about how John loved to wander down to the water's edge and casting in dry twigs, watch them sail away. So he's watching these dry twigs sail away downstream to Jacksonville, the sea, the wide world. And then it also says that he wanted to follow them. That means that is what he wants to do. So the underlined sentence is describing how John wants to follow, just like the dry twigs, he wants to go somewhere near the sea and see the wide world. So which should we choose? So if you said D, well done. So D says it suggests that John longs to experience a larger life outside the Florida woods. So choice D is the best answer because it accurately describes how the underlined sentence functions in the text as a whole. The text establishes that John has a strong imagination and then goes on to describe the St. John River near John's home in the Florida woods. The underlined sentence depicts John sending twigs sailing down the river while he imagines them reaching Jacksonville, the sea, the wide world, where he wishes he could follow. So this suggests that John longs to expand his life experiences beyond the Florida woods.
Choice A is incorrect because the second and third sentences of the text provide an extended description of the riverbank where John likes to go, whereas the underlined sentence describes what John does at that location. Choice B is incorrect because the first sentence of the text suggests that John's behavior was puzzling to others around him, whereas the underlined sentence concerns the content of John's imaginations. Choice C is incorrect because the underlined sentence elaborates on John's imagination but doesn't mention any other children to whom John could be compared.